My guy, Pat Murphy, up to his old tricks, sending a message to his team on Tuesday night in New York. We'll get to that next here on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Good to have you along. Chuck Freimund, longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin, proud host of Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Good to have you along. Locked On Brewers, #1 Brewers podcast on the internet. Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcasting network in the world. 10 years and going strong. We'll get into Wednesday's matchup against the Mets. Injury updates on a few guys. Talk about how they fit in. The Brewers are not hitting again. And some of the numbers say they are, but they're not. At least the Freimund eye test says they're not. But the number one, other than the fact that they lost, and we're going to get to that on Tuesday night, and should have won, could have found a way to win, but didn't. Cooper Pratt getting pulled and benched in this game is going to be what everybody's talking about on Wednesday. Hey, did you see what Murphy did? And he's done this before. He's pulled Frelick, Caleb Durbin last year. I believe that was in St. Louis, it might have been, last year. Missing a cutoff throw, and he was not happy. And I forgot what Durbin did, but Durbin did something that Murphy wasn't liking and pulled him out of the game. And here's what happened on Tuesday night. Murphy did not like the fact that Pratt could not get down the bunt, let a pitch for strike two go right by him for a easy call strike, didn't get the bunt down. And then Pratt hit a little fly ball to short right field, and he didn't hustle tremendously. He ran, but he could have ran harder, I thought. And in Murphy's mind, most importantly, he didn't run hard. And he turned the corner, the ball fell between three fielders, and he got as far as first base. Now, quite honestly, I do think if he was been running hard out of the box, he might have been a dead duck at second base. Might have been. But even if Pratt doesn't necessarily have to make second base, but if he runs hard to first and makes the turn and puts on the brakes, then I think that's still acceptable in Murphy's eyes. He wasn't ticked off that Pratt did not make it to second base. He was ticked off that he lollygagged down the first base, and yeah, he probably would have been thrown out at second. I would have guessed. It would have been close. I think he'd have been thrown out. But the point is, I think Murph used this moment to send a message to his team, because in what he did at the press conference, he kind of did. You know, he calmly said, he didn't pound his fist and say, well, Pratt's got to do this. He kind of went matter-of-factly. Pratt is, he's mentioned, young player, got to get his head in the game. And he explained what I just told you. He didn't lay down the bunt, didn't run out the ball hard. He said it is not, he likes Pratt. He says not laziness. This was not laziness, but that's not going to be acceptable, that you got to run things out. And he kind of alluded to sending a message that goes for everybody on this team. And in the locker room further, after Murphy talked, Pratt faced the media, and he 1,000% owned it. Pratt was not going about, he was not going to, in that locker room on this team with Murphy as the manager, he was not going to say, well, but I did this. Oh, but, I did this. He was not going to make any excuses, even if he thought he was in the right or whatever. He was, I'm sure, in a case like that, when Bowers and Frelick are talking to him on the bench, they're probably saying, hey, you got to own this. I don't want to hear any, you got to own this. You talk to the media after the game, that is on you. You got to say, hey, this. I'm not saying that happened, but I wouldn't be surprised that they told him you got to own that. If Pratt maybe didn't, I'm not sure if he wanted to or didn't want to. Either way, Pratt did own it. He spoke for a couple of minutes and talked about he's got to be better. He said it'll never happen again. And he mentioned a couple of times, that's not how we do things here. That's not how we play here. And that's absolutely correct. Again, this is Murphy. Murphy's the manager of this team, but he's also a coach. And here's what I mean by that. I've mentioned this before. Yeah, he's making out the lineup. He's, making changes and doing things and managing the game. But he's also a coach. He's an old school coach. As you know, he coached in the college level. He's an old school coach. And he will, and he's a motivator, instructor, and he knows the pulse of his team. We could look at that and maybe say, well, maybe Murph should or should not have done it. Personally, I like what he did, and I love the way he's got the pulse of this team. But it doesn't matter. He knows what's best for his team. And I see some comments on Twitter, people saying, well, Murph was in the wrong here, and he does not do it good. Somebody said, oh, this is another flub up from Murph. Are you kidding me? The guy's manager of the year 2 years in a row, and he's got the best record in baseball. And plus, he listens to this podcast. But Murph, even if you didn't listen to this podcast, and I know you do, I would, me, I would get on you. I would get on teams. I don't care. I don't care who's listening to this podcast. If somebody does something wrong, I will point it out to them. But in this case, yeah, Murph was sending a message to his guys because he has got the pulse of his team. He knows these guys. He's around these guys every day. So, and you know what? Again, how could you argue with a guy who's the best manager in baseball? I don't want to hear anybody else's name. I don't want to hear anybody else manager. I don't want to hear Walt Weiss. I don't want to hear the guy in San Diego. I certainly don't want to hear Dave Roberts. But I want to, Murphy is the best manager in baseball without question. Now, on the other hand, could Murphy be pulling guys and doing what he did because he's got a young team? And I feel like he coaches them. When I say the coaching part, he's a manager, but the coaching part in him, could he do this with a team that's got 3 MVPs or 5 Hall of Famers? Could he do this with the 82 Brewers back then? Well, probably not. But you know what? Those guys wouldn't need that because those guys were all veteran players and they wouldn't need a kick in the pants at all. And he was sending a message to Pratt too, that, hey, this is how we play the game here. He has sent that match to Durbin and Frelick. He has sent it to everybody. Remember last week when he pulled Robert Gasser from that game? And he's done this before. Robert Gasser couldn't find the strike zone, was walking guys. Brewers had a 6-0 lead. Murphy didn't care. He didn't care if he's hurting anybody's feelings, taking him out between the batter while he's during a count to a hitter. Came out, pulled him. And now Gasser's out in the bullpen, it sounds like. Sounds like Gasser's out in the bullpen. So, yeah, because he sure is not starting in this series. Mizorowski's starting on Thursday. So, yeah, I like that. I like that attitude from the bottom of our rookie league all the way up to the top. This is how we do things with the Milwaukee Brewers. You know something? For the longest time, it has not been that way. And that's why this franchise has just sucked for the most part. For the longest time, it has been that way. There's been some complacency. But finally, we got a tone that we're setting in this entire franchise. And it's a tone that you got to hustle and you got to come to play. And that I love. We've heard coach speak before from some other guys who've been here, and this is how we're going to play. And I can go all the way back to Davey Lopes because I've heard it all from all of these guys. I've been around a long time. I heard it all from all these guys. But finally, they mean business. And you know what? And this is why the Brewers have the best record in baseball. This is why they have the best organization in baseball. I don't want to talk about the postseason here, but this is why Milwaukee every year overachieves. Yeah, they're not the most talented team in baseball, not by a long shot. No, they're not. And I'm not slighting the team. And I think a lot of baseball people would agree. They're not the most talented team in baseball. But what they do a lot of things right. And that starts at the top and it works its way all the way to the bottom. And Murphy is the tone setter there. The tone setter. We talked about it a little bit on yesterday's podcast when Doug Russell was with me. So, yeah, anytime Murphy does something like this, yeah, I'm all for it because he's got the pulse of his team. He's got the pulse of his team. Brewers went on to lose this game Wasn't happy about that. And the play was, and it was decided, obviously, with Cooper Pratt coming out of the game. He was on first base. And what happened was they put Hamilton in as a pinch runner. And initially I thought, my first initial reaction, did Cooper Pratt re-injure his hamstring? That was my first thing. Oh man, I hope he didn't pull a blame because he just was activated last week. And then he ran back to the dugout and he looked okay. No trainers were talking to him. And I was like, oh man, he got pulled because of not hustling that out in Murphy's eyes. Yeah. So Hamilton comes in, and Hamilton ends up staying in the game, and Ortiz moves over to short. And of course, as fate would have it, in the bottom of the 10th inning, ground ball to third, where Ortiz would be normally. Hamilton's throw home, terrible throw, off balance or whatever, just an awful throw. And Brewers lose 3-2. So yeah, you could say, in effect, maybe Cooper Pratt cost him a game with this by not hustling it out, but I'm not going to go there because I feel like they lost this in other ways. They lost this in other ways. It might have came down to Pratt not playing a shortstop and Ortiz over at third, but going 2 for 14 with runners in scoring position a game, again, is a problem. It's a problem with these guys. We're going to get to what happened last night and some guys who are coming on and really hitting the ball well, and some things I liked last night. We're going to talk about the pitchers. I feel like some people are blaming Vogelback too. We're going to get off of that. We're going to get onto that too if we get a chance. Chuck Freimund here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's going to hit a home run today, if you think you know, FanDuel's giving you a free chance to call your shot with Daily Dingers. It's easy to play. You just make your free pick on who you think is going to hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use in your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make that free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers, another fun way to stay engaged with everyday games, whether you're following your favorite team or you're keeping an eye on all the matchups around the league. Every game has got someone capable of going deep, and now's your chance to make your prediction before that first pitch. I'm going to go with Milwaukee. I'm going to say Jake Bauers hasn't hit one since Saturday. I'm going to say Jake Rake Bauers is going to go yard for Milwaukee. I like the pitching matchup with the righty on the mound for the Mets, Jake Bauers. So, are you ready to play your game today? Join in all the action on FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com, play Daily Dingers, make your free pick on who you think is going to hit a home run. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel. FanDuel, the official partner of MLB, and also as an addendum to this, I love their live betting. Their live betting, it is second to none, easy to navigate. Check it out on FanDuel. Before we go any further, our podcast you get on Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you download your audio podcast. We're the #1 Brewers podcast on the internet because of, and you great Brewer fans. And get us on YouTube as well. Search Locked On Brewers on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. We do the instant reaction, the rapid reaction right after the game. I do a 60-second report after every game. But you got to be on our YouTube page to get that and get alerted by subscribing to YouTube. Please like our videos as well. I appreciate that. It always helps the podcast, and all content, as always, is always free. Losses like Tuesday night, that is my fear. My fear for this team in the postseason, that the Brewers are going to get to the postseason. This is when I thought, if they got Skubal, they'd be in this position. That the Brewers would lose a game like this. Well, the starting pitcher, Harrison, pitched well in his start, and the relief was fine too. But this would be my fear, that they'd get into one of these type of games, and this is how they lose. A game where they're 2 for 14 with runners in scoring position. If they don't win the World Series championship, I guarantee you it'll be runners in scoring position. Now, I keep hearing how good the Brewers are. They're 4th in the league scoring runs with runners in scoring position and 6th in the major leagues in batting average with runners in scoring position. They're batting .261 My goodness, if the Brewers are 6th in Major League Baseball with runners in scoring position, how bad is the rest of the league? If the Brewers are 6th, I refuse to believe that the Brewers are 6th in baseball with a .261 average and 4th in runs scored with runners in scoring position. Because I feel like anytime they lose and when they win, they're like 2 for 14. Or over a 5-game a 3-game homestand, they're like 5 of 38. 4th in runs scored with runners in scoring position. Come on. It was an uneventful game for the most part. It was one of those boring games, and looked like they were going to lose 2-1. The Pratt thing, and then things got heating up there at the end. I like the fact that McGill came in for 2 innings, and you got to bring your closer in that tie game, top of the 9th inning, or in the bottom of the 9th inning to send it the extra innings. Now, the problem there is if your reliever does not go, your closer doesn't go the 10th inning, you're left with, oh my God, who am I going to pitch? Because you get the extra innings, and it's not the frontline guys in your bullpen, because chances are you've used those guys up already. So then when you get to the 10th inning, it's like, okay, here we go. But not in this case. The Brewers put McGill out there because it was like an 8-pitch 9th inning. So they ran McGill out there for the 10th inning again. And I like that. I like him coming back for another inning. Yeah, it didn't work out. He's handicapped because he's got a guy on second base starting the inning with those rules, with the ghost runner on second base. So I thought McGill did his job. I thought McGill, he could have used some help from Hamilton making a play there, right? He could have used some help from his defense. But yeah, McGill coming in the 9th and then coming back for the 10th. I want to see that done more often. I like that. Now this starts a stretch of 16 games in 16 days. And he had McGill throw 2 innings coming off the off day. He didn't pitch on Sunday. We'll see what his availability is coming up on Wednesday. Would he be even available to pitch after going 2 innings? We'll find out. Contreras, man, that guy continues to hit. Led off the top of the 9th inning with a setting the table with a double. Eventually scored. Brewers in that top of the 9th inning as part of that 2 for 14 with runners in scoring position. 2nd and 3rd, no one out after Yelich doubles. Yelich pinch hit, goes opposite, and Yelich is starting to get on a roll here. Yelich didn't start because of the left-hander on the hill for the Mets, but they pinch hit him, and he delivers a big hit off the bench. Big hit off the bench, going opposite field there. Starting to feel better about Yelich these days. Big hit, but they couldn't score him. Lara goes down on 3 strikes. I know hindsight is 20/20. But with nobody out and man at third, man, I'm almost thinking I got McGill coming up in the bullpen in the bottom of the 9th inning. How about a suicide squeeze? The squeeze play, get that run in from third. Just a squeeze play, get that run in for third. Do you do that with Lara? But Lara strikes out as Lara was like swinging for the fences on that 3rd strike. Or do you have Garrett Mitchell lay down a bunt, capable of doing that? And I know in the top of the 10th inning, Jackson Chourio struck out on 3 pitches. And there was some school thought, does Jackson Chourio lay down a bunt there, get that run over to third? Having stars bunt, they should all know how to bunt. I was more of the idea of squeezing that runner in from third in the top half of the 9th inning with nobody out and get that 4th run in. Brewers tried to squeeze last week, looking for, I think it was Saturday, looking for another run with Cooper Pratt at the plate, and he bunted 1 foul on Saturday. If you go back Saturday, he tried bunting a squeeze play with a runner at third. But nonetheless, the Brewers didn't, and they went down in order. And, Hamilton hit a little looping liner to the short that Lindor made a play on. I think the play, it was a nice play. It wasn't an over-the-top play. Lindor made a nice play on it. I'm not going to go crazy and say, oh, my God, what a play. He's a major leaguer. He should have made that play. It wasn't like he all out sprawled out and was Brooks Robinson over at shortstop. So they lose. It's a loss. It happens. Now, I did feel better at the end of the night because the Cubs had a 4-0 lead late, and they lose 5-4 on another walk-off. They lose on another walk-off home run. How about that? The Cubs, they lost Saturday night on Rosarina. On Rosarina hitting that bomb. Seattle beat them on Saturday. But last night, Arizona came through, and it looked like the Cubs were going to be on their way. Ryan Waldschmidt hit a 2-run homer in the bottom of the 9th inning. Arizona had 5 hits for the night. They score 5 runs in the last 3 innings, and they get the job done. Cubs Twitter is probably going crazy. They could have got within 4.5. So we keep them at the arm's length at 5.5. Could have been 6.5, though. Could have been 6.5. All right, we come back. I'm going to touch on a few more things. Injuries, Chourio, Vogelbach, I didn't get to yet. Sanchez, a few more things. I can probably go about 2 hours on today's podcast, but we're not going to go 2 hours, obviously. We'll come right back after this. Chuck Freimund here on Locked On Brewers. Thank you to our friends at Amazon for this limited break. This back-to-school season, spend less on your kids with Amazon. Man, we got beautiful weather outside. You don't want to be going to the store. Shop at Amazon. Back to school shopping, it's a crazy experience. It starts with a few items on the list, and suddenly you're shopping for supplies, clothes, lunch gear, tech, and about 10 other things you didn't see coming. It all adds up real fast. You buy clothes for your kid's got a growth spurt 2 weeks later, and you're right back where you started. Sometimes it feels like they're growing faster than your budget can keep up with. When the teacher, that supply list arrives and somehow every item feels completely reasonable on its own, then you add everything together and realize how much stuff one kid needs for one school year. It's incredible. So remember, Amazon, low back-to-school prices. Spend less on your kids because every dollar you don't spend on them is a dollar you haven't spent on them. And me, personally, I love the fact that Amazon, you see that truck coming right down your street, and it's dropping one off, or they hand you the package. It's a beautiful thing. And if I don't have to make a trip to the store and I got to get to Amazon, give me my school supplies for my kid, shop back to school at Amazon. Back to school at Amazon and spend less on your kids. You can always hit me up at Twitter as well. Chuck Freimund, Freimund. I got some messages. I'm going to promise you I'm going to get back to you on Wednesday. I'm going to clear everybody out and answer everybody. And also, if you want to be on Facebook as well, I am good with that as well. We can become friends if you want. Jackson Chourio went 0 for 5. We talked about that 3-pitch strikeout in the top half of the 10th inning. It looked like he was swinging the pitches all over the strike zone, up, down, side to side. Yeah, although Murphy defended him in the clubhouse afterwards in his post-game interview. But 0 for 5 did not have a good performance, Jackson Chourio. Sanchez is batting .212, batting 5th tonight. I mean, Gary gives them one of the few guys on this team that gives them some legitimate power capabilities. Not only is he the backup catcher, but I mean, that's where they're doubted for a power source these days, hoping that Gary Sanchez will pop one. He's got 10 on the year. Most of those, I feel like, early on, but he pinch hit the other day, and I was like, I don't like Gary in a pinch hit role. Boy, Gary Sanchez in the heart of the order at this point of his career, I don't know, but that's what the Brewers, this is their offense. Gary Sanchez batting 4th. He's batted 4th. He's batted 3rd. He's batted 5th. 212. You look up the board, you see 212, 10 home runs. Man, we're 30 games over the 500 mark, and we have him batting 5th in our lineup. A lot of people are targeting Vogelbach. He's an assistant hitting coach. I wouldn't place too much blame on. I'm never one to place blame on a hitting coach to begin with, especially the assistant hitting coach. And now Vogelbach is taking heat because people look at him and, you know, he was a home run or nothing guy basically in his major league career. And people will say, well, geez, that's the way he was as a player. He's an assistant. So I wouldn't put too much blame on Vogelbach. I always put the blame on the players over the coaches and managers. Most of the time. Injuries. Frelick was reinstated from the injured list. Ornelas was DFA'd. Brewers have DFA'd about 50 players, I feel like, this year. Frelick says he's got a torn labrum in his shoulder. But he's still going to try to give it a go. Torn labrum. Now, if he's a pitcher, he couldn't play. Torn labrum. Man, that's a tough way to go, man. We'll see how much they can get out of Frelick the rest of the season here. But a torn labrum. Uribe, the injury report, the Brewers released to us media today. Late August, early September, he was supposed to pitch an inning for the Timber Rattlers on Tuesday night. Jojo Romero, of course, he had the appendicitis. He's due back, according to the Brewers, late August. The Brewers in a stretch of 16 games in 16 days, 29 over the 500 mark, 81 and 52, and 4.5 on the Cubs. Heading into this matchup, game 2 against the Mets. Mets are playing some young guys, mixing and matching. They still have some veterans. Jan, when he got that final out, when Lindor, did you see him? I like the enthusiasm of that guy with the Mets. The Mets are in last place, but he acted like he got the final out of Game 7 of the World Series. Good for him, playing with passion. I like that. But I'm complimenting the wrong team here. That's the Mets. Dustin May pitches, and 7 innings, 7 hits, 7 runs in 2 innings in his last outing. I am hoping, for a couple of reasons, that Dustin May has a nice outing. For 3 reasons, really. Number 1, for the Brewers' sake, I hope he has a good outing. Number 2 is Twitter, if he has another bad outing, is just going to explode. Brewers' Twitter is just going to explode. And number 3, it'll help me look better because I love this trade. And if he has another bad outing, it's going to really make me look bad because I love this trade. And he looked good in his first 2 outings and looked absolutely brutal in his last outing. Come on, May, bounce back, give them one against the Mets. And Robert Stock is on the hill. Bob Stock, 36 years old, journeyman. He's been with 5 or 6 different teams, bounced around. He's played in the Korean League. He's played in the Mexican League. He's played in the Independent League. He's been around for a long time. So his last outing, 4 innings pitched, 4 1/3 innings pitched, 6 Ks against San Diego, a righty on the mound for the Mets. He was with the Brewers organization, 2023. The Brewers signed him to a minor league deal that year, and he pitched a few innings in Nashville. Never got called up to Milwaukee. But Robert Stock, just the kind of guy that gives the Brewers problems, right? Journeyman right-handed pitcher, 36, trying to hang on for dear life to a Major League Baseball career. Well, thanks, everybody, for tuning in on this edition of Locked On Brewers. Appreciate it, as always. Again, you know how to get our podcast on all the audio platforms, on YouTube. Hit me up on Twitter if you like. Always love hearing where you guys are messaging and consuming the podcast from. Love it, love it, love it. We will talk to you early Thursday morning, late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning, depending on how you view that and what part of the world you're living in these days. So we'll see you then. My name is Chuck Freimund. Thanks for being an everydayer. You're tuned to Locked On Brewers.